14,500 feet above sea level. My face is frozen, my hands are shaking, and my brain's trying to file a complaint with my lungs. And yes, I actually paid money for this. Apparently there's a fine line between adventure and bad decision, and I'm standing directly on it. Welcome to Colombia, where the coffee is strong, the people are incredible, and even your terrible ideas come with jaw-dropping views. I'm here to climb an active volcano, because nothing says I love this country like voluntarily gasping for air on top of it. So buckle up, because this isn't luxury travel, it's curiosity and adventure with altitude. When most people picture Colombia, they think beaches, coffee, and maybe a few extremely outdated headlines. But what they don't think of is this, a volcano that's still breathing, high enough to make your smartwatch panic. This is the Nevado del Ruiz, a place that looks like nature hit pause somewhere between heaven and hell and decided to stay for lunch. And here's the thing, Colombia isn't dangerous, it's misunderstood. The people here, they'll feed you, help you, invite you in, and somehow make you feel like family before you've finished your first cup of tinto. I came here to see if the country everyone warned me about is actually the one worth falling in love with, and spoiler alert, it is. Because Colombia isn't chaos, it's charm with better music. It's a country that's been through hell, rebuilt itself with heart, and still greets you with a smile that feels like sunshine after rain. So yeah, I'm here to climb a volcano, but what I'm really doing is showing you a Colombia most people will never believe until they see it. Welcome to the Americano. Every Colombian adventure starts the same way, at a bus terminal that feels like a cross between an airport, a carnival, and a live-action episode of Where's My Luggage? 2 tickets to Libano, 60,000 pesos each, about 15 US dollars. For that price, you don't buy comfort, you negotiate with it. The seats recline exactly 1 degree, the AC is a myth, and there's always someone selling empanadas in the aisle like it's the NASDAQ. But honestly, I love it, because this is where Colombia's heartbeat lives, in the chatter, the music, and the smell of coffee strong enough to rewire your DNA. 6 hours later, Bogotá fades behind us like a half-remembered meeting, and everything turns green. The noise dies down, the air gets clean, and suddenly the mountains look like someone overdid the saturation slider on reality. Welcome to Tolima, a region most tourists skip, which is exactly why you shouldn't. It's the kind of place that quietly reminds you that peace and beauty don't need marketing departments. Libano's our first stop, a small mountain town with coffee in its veins and kindness in its DNA. Lunch, trout, grilled beef, and a cold beer.
After 5.5 hours on a bus, I'm in Libano and I'm starved. So I found this restaurant, La Mucura, and let's go have a look and see what they have on the menu. I'm gonna show you their menu and the prices.
33,500 pesos, $8.50. For that price in the US, you get an appetizer and a passive-aggressive waiter. Here, you get a mountain view and a smile that could power a small village. And this is why I travel Colombia the way the locals do. No chauffeurs, no first class, no filters, because sometimes the best luxury is realizing you never need it in the first place. Libano is the kind of town where time forgot to move on, and everyone seems perfectly fine with that. It sits in the mountains of Tolima, surrounded by coffee farms so green, it's like Adobe Photoshop took notes here. Here, people don't rush. They talk, they laugh, they exist, like they've figured out some secret the rest of us are too busy scrolling past. The town's name, Libano, actually means Lebanon in Spanish. The founders thought these mountains looked like the Middle East, which is adorable and geographically optimistic. This is real Colombia. Bakeries that smell like heaven, cafes that taste like purpose, and the locals who wave at you just for being alive. No one's trying to sell you anything except another cup of coffee, and even then, it's more of an act of kindness than commerce. Here, conversations last longer than phone batteries, and everyone seems genuinely happy you showed up. Not because you're a tourist, but because in towns like this, everyone's a guest, not a transaction. Libano isn't trying to impress anyone, and that's exactly why it does. It's not flashy, it's not curated. It's Colombia, the real, beautiful, wildly human kind. Once the road narrows with switchbacks, that's Colombia's polite way of saying, hope your spine's insured. You can technically take a bus from Libano to Murillo, but at some point the mountains just laugh and say, cute, get in the Jeep.
So from Libano to Murillo, I'm in the back of a truck, and this is 10,000 pesos, about $2.50 US dollars.
and it's about a 30 to 40 minute trip this way, and it's all switchbacks, so it's back and forth. But the views are beautiful.
Here, every 4x4 is called a Jeep, even if it's technically a Toyota pretending to be American. Doesn't matter. They all climb like mountain goats and sound like coffee grinders having an identity crisis. The driver, a local legend. One hand on the wheel, one hand on his Tinto, dodging potholes like he's in a video game. Except the prize at the end is just still being alive. And yet, you can't help but love it, because this is what Colombia does best. It makes chaos feel like choreography. You're bouncing around in the backseat, grinning like a kid, thinking, this is insane, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. As we climb higher, the air cools, the clouds drop, and the city noise fades like static in another life. It's wild, it's beautiful, and it's the kind of experience no tour bus brochure will ever capture. $2 and a few bruises later, we pull into Murillo, a little mountain town where the air's cold, the colors are loud, and the adventure is just getting started. Murillo sits at about 9,500 feet above sea level, which means the oxygen is limited, but the charm, absolutely unlimited. It's a tiny mountain town that looks like someone spilled a box of Crayolas and decided to just live with the results. Colorful houses, red roofs, blue doors, and people who wave like you've been neighbors for years. The altitude hits different here, literally. You walk uphill for 2 blocks and start questioning your fitness, your diet, and maybe your life choices. But then you stop, breathe, and realize this is exactly why you came. The air is crisp, the views are ridiculous, and the pace is so slow it feels like the town is gently trolling modern life. We checked into Hostel Pachanuna, $28 for 2 nights for a private room, including blankets so thick they could double as emotional support animals. The kind of place where you open the windows, see fog rolling across the valley, and think, yeah, I could disappear here for a while. Dinner that night? A hot spiced wine, their take on a Spanish tortilla, and a colonial house straight out of a time machine. $8, and for that price, they even threw in free nostalgia. By 8 p.m., the whole town's asleep. No traffic, no noise, just dogs, crickets, and the occasional guy on a motorcycle who clearly missed the memo. Murillo isn't a stopover. It's a reminder that life doesn't need Wi-Fi, neon lights, or an itinerary to feel good. It just needs color, kindness, and maybe one more cup of Tinto before bed.
It's 5 a.m. and I'm getting ready to go, I guess, as close to the volcano as we can go with a big tour group. And you can see we're all having breakfast together right now. It's a lot of people.
Already made a terrible life choice. Today's plan, climb an active volcano before sunrise. Because apparently I confused vacation with voluntary suffering. The tour costs 210,000 pesos, about 52 US dollars. That includes breakfast, a guide, transport, a late lunch, and the growing suspicion that I've joined a boot camp for mountain goats. Breakfast, eggs, and arepa, and coffee strong enough to wake the dead, which is good because up here, the air's thin and the oxygen is optional. Our ride, a bright red Romanian-built Carpati Jeep-like vehicle, circa late 1960s. Packed with Colombian tourists, all smiling like this is totally normal. That's the thing about Colombians. They don't just survive hard things, they turn them into social events. Everyone's laughing and treating this death-defying climb like a Sunday picnic. First stop, Armero. Armero isn't just a stop on the tour, it's a wound that Colombia decided not to hide. In 1985, the Nevado del Ruiz erupted. A wave of mud and ash buried this entire town, more than 20,000 lives gone in one night. Standing here feels like time quit, but the memories didn't. There's no sad music, no dramatics, just a quiet reminder that nature doesn't negotiate, and life keeps showing up anyway. And somehow, the people here still find a way to honor it with love instead of fear. That's Colombia in a nutshell. Pain and resilience holding hands. And that's what hits you hardest about Colombia. It doesn't erase the past, it carries it with grace. This country doesn't look away from what broke it. It rebuilds, brighter, louder, kinder. So yeah, Armero is a ghost town, but it's also proof that ghosts don't always haunt. Sometimes they just remind you to be grateful you're still here. Colombia loves a good legend, and up here in the mountains, they've got one for everything. Lakes, rocks, even random gusts of wind have backstories. Case in point, La Llorona Lagoon, the crying woman. Locals say you can hear her weeping at night. Some say it's a ghost. Others say it's the wind. Me, I say it's just the sound of my lungs asking for Wi-Fi and oxygen. The fog rolls in, the air's freezing, and the whole place feels like nature's version of a haunted spa. Eerie, beautiful, and just unsettling enough to make you question your life insurance. A few miles later, we hit Azufrado Canyon, where the volcano's power is still breathing just under the surface. Steam rises from the ground. The air smells of sulfur like someone left a carton of eggs in the sun, and the mud bubbles like a cauldron in a fairy tale that forgot to end well. There are no fences, no warning signs, just faith and good balance. It's wild, raw, and completely unfiltered. The kind of place that makes you feel tiny in the best possible way. And you look around and realize Colombia doesn't need special effects. It already runs on drama, beauty, and a little supernatural PR. And as we bounce back into the Jeep, the fog closes in again like curtains after a performance. No applause, no exit music, just quiet awe. Because up here, the mountain doesn't need to impress you. It already knows it's the main event. Somewhere between the fog and your last functioning brain cell at 13,000 feet, you start to notice these unusual, small, palm tree-like plants with thick trunks, a crown of silver, hairy leaves arranged in a dense spiral pattern covering the hillsides. They're called frailejones, and they look like what would happen if a cactus and a teddy bear had a baby in a cloud. But here's the wild part. They don't just sit there being cute. They literally make water. They pull moisture from the fog, turn it into droplets, and feed the rivers that keep Colombia alive. Basically, they're doing God's plumbing for free. Each one grows about a centimeter a year, which means the ones towering over you are 100 years old or older and still doing their job without complaint or Wi-Fi. Meanwhile, my houseplants can't survive a long weekend. The guide says Colombia has more frailejones than anywhere else on Earth, which makes sense because if any country was going to perfect low drama, high productivity, it would be this one. In fact, this plant only exists in Colombia, Ecuador, and Venezuela, and is currently an endangered species. These things have been standing here quietly for a century, keeping rivers flowing while the rest of us argue about bottled water. That's Colombia for you. Even the plants are overachievers. Back in the Jeep, fog thickens, temperature drops, and the scenery slowly transitions from tropical postcard to I think we're on Mars. Every few miles, the guide points out something new. A steaming vent, a hidden lagoon, a patch of moss that somehow survives where logic doesn't. At some point, I realized the Jeep's heater isn't broken. It never existed. By the time we reach 13,000 feet, my head's spinning, my fingers are numb, and I'm pretty sure my soul just unfriended me. But then the clouds part, and suddenly there it is, the Nevado del Ruiz. Massive, silent, alive. It's humbling, it's surreal, and for a second, all the sarcasm shuts off. They call it El Valle de las Tumbas, the Valley of the Tombs, which, let's be honest, is not the most reassuring name for a place you have to pay to visit. We're standing at 4,400 meters, about 14,500 feet, where the air is thin, the wind is personal, and your brain starts questioning why your body ever agreed to this trip. The entry fee is 65,000 pesos, about 17 US dollars. However, mine was included in my tour price, so not bad, considering that's cheaper than a round of frappuccinos and comes with way more existential perspective. The view looks like another planet. Gray volcanic rock, fog swirling like smoke, and patches of moss somehow thriving where logic gave up. It's quiet, it's harsh, it's beautiful, like Earth's final loading screen before you respawn somewhere spiritual. The guide tells us to yell gracias into the valley.
Gracias!
We do, a dozen voices echoing back from the mountains, and I swear for a second it sounds like the mountain says you're welcome. It's one of those moments that hits harder than you expect, when you realize the whole world's been breathing long before you showed up and will keep doing it long after you're gone. And that's the magic of Colombia. It's not perfect, it's alive. It laughs with you, humbles you, and occasionally reminds you to shut up and appreciate the view. 17 bucks to touch the sky. Honestly, bargain of the century. And then, because Colombia never lets you leave hungry, we stop at one of the park buildings for an agua panela, which is basically sugarcane and water along with an empanada.
Okay, we stopped for a break for bathrooms, as well as if you wanted something hot to drink. And this is agua panela. It's caliente, it's hot. And an empanada.
3,000 pesos for the juice, $4,000 for the empanadas, about $1.50. If happiness had a currency, this would be the exchange rate. As we wind back down the mountain, the mist starts to fade, the colors return, and suddenly everything feels warmer, brighter, easier. By the time we roll back into Murillo, the sun's setting over the Andes, wood smoke drifts through the streets, and the whole town glows like a postcard nobody had to filter. It's quiet again, the kind of quiet you don't get from noise-canceling headphones, but from actually being content. That's the thing about Colombia. It feeds you, it humbles you, it fills your lungs with air and your heart with perspective. And after hours of fog, cold, and thin air, the first thing you smell isn't sulfur anymore. It's lunch. Soup, rice, beef, salad, juice. Nothing fancy, but up here, it tastes like Michelin stars and redemption. So what's the real cost of climbing a volcano in Colombia? About 450,000 pesos. That's 110 US dollars. That covered the buses to get here, a cozy hostel for 2 nights, a 9-hour Jeep ride, and all the meals and a spiritual awakening disguised as altitude sickness. In the US, that barely gets you a dingy hotel room with a window that doesn't open for 1 night. Here it gets you adventure, connection, and a country that greets you like an old friend. Colombia isn't dangerous, it's alive. It's generous, resilient, and endlessly curious about you too. The people here will hand you a coffee, a story, and a smile before they even ask your name. And that's why I love this place. It doesn't try to impress you. It just is. Raw, real, beautiful, imperfect, unforgettable. I came to climb a volcano. What I found was perspective, and a reminder that the best views in life rarely come easy, but they're always worth it. I'm Matt. This is the Americano. If you enjoyed this little bout of altitude insanity, subscribe, join the Passport newsletter, and come see the Colombia I've fallen in love with, one crazy, beautiful, heart-racing adventure at a time. Next week, we do Manizales, and we're gonna keep on each week doing the part of the tour that we did over 10 days. So I'll catch you in the next video. Take care.